Oh, okay, so they can change the last couple of picks as a result. Mm.
I personally like the fact they've got more AP, but now they've given away the team comp that won game 1, very similar at least to Unicorns of Love.
Yeah. So they're just gonna play, instead of playing the comp they just won with, they're gonna play this one instead, which is what they won game 1 with. It's fine. It actually doesn't make that big of a difference for Unicorns of Love. And in fact, I actually think that this Kog'Maw is better with their composition a little bit, because you already didn't have a great way to get shockwaves. So SK is not going to be doing that split push that we saw in game 2, which they won though. At least not with Zed. They can still 4-1 effectively, but they have 2 good targets in Lee Sin and Shyvana to get shockwaves, to execute shockwaves with. So their team fighting is much stronger with this composition, but they're not going to be able to split. They're not going to be able to 1-3-1 this game. So that actually changes a lot about SK's strategy heading into this.
Opted to lock in Orianna instead of the Z this time round. As a result, Power of Evil decided to go with Kog'Maw. Here's why we have that small difference. I'm very interested to see Power of Evil's positioning against a Lee Sin and a Shyvana. I'm less hopeful.
Sion's not pretty good to get shockwaves because his ult is really unreliable. And he also stops. That's the thing. He stops when he hits something, so he can't ever get into the middle of the enemy for a shockwave. Not like Shyvana, who can really just get in your backline.
Well, 2 games that if they don't have an assassin in the mid lane that can make plays on the map, they're very passive in the early game, and simply don't seem to get the same leads we're used to watching from them. Now we're back on an Orianna here for SK Gaming, who's obviously running those flashpoints. So we know what Unicorns of Love wants to do.
Okay, so standard start. UoL is going to start at 3 different camps, take them all, and then head into lane. Meanwhile, we're going to see the exact same thing from SK. So junglers will be in mirror.
Jumping into the jungle. Back the game. We need the lanes. Well, it's always the jungler's fault when you lose. Everybody knows that. You steal the camps, and it's all equal.
Kiki's trying to just... What is he doing? If this works, I don't even know what to say. He does this every game on Udyr.
Very bad for Freddy.
Flash bear slap. That is the question. He's going to
How's he gonna escape? I mean, there's red buff, there's CC.
Knock up. No flash away. Freddy. Well,
I mean, when you're SK Gaming and you already played Udyr once, who did a level 2 gank, red buff level 2 gank. When you watched the game last week, where there was also an Udyr doing red buff.
Yeah, Deficio, just talking about it right now.
Tell yourself, we're playing against him again. Where's he gonna start? Well,
Seriously.
gank, which we have to be afraid of. He's gonna start on the top side.
Yeah.
What do we need to do then?
Yeah, it's stupid cheese, and they are taking a blue buff for it. Like, Svenskern's doing the right thing. He just went blue to blue. So they get 3 buff for it, but you have to play more respectfully when you know that there's a possibility that that's going to be going down, and especially when Unicorns of Love keep doing it again. This is why it's so distressing, some of these games with Unicorns of Love, because sometimes less so... Oh, jeez. Wow, good thing Svenskern's here to save everybody. So let's talk about this. So Svenskern's pretty low right here. He doesn't have any pots to come up. But if you're Unicorns of Love, you can't really fully commit to this hook like that, because there's a high probability that Svenskern is on your side of the map. After the Udyr showed in top, it's exactly the same thing we saw in the last game. So Hylissang, you know, he's going to get the kill onto Forgiven right here. But you can't overcommit to this one. And you should just be happy with that, right there. You don't go any further than that. Because if he, think about it, if he uses the get excited to just walk right back to turret right there, there's no chance that he can die. So that was a risky play. The hook was good. The hook play was good from Hylissang, and the first kill was fine because they didn't get that close to dying. but that's disrespecting the enemy jungler, because the blue buff is the most, your blue is the most likely camp for Lee Sin to be at that point in time. That's the Svenskeren absolutely with the proper reaction right there. So able to turn that one around just a tad. It's still worth it, I think, for Unicorns, because they got the kill onto the AD carry, but still not great.
But that's why you go back all the way to level 1, and then when do you place your ward? Well, you need to make sure you have yours ready in the laning phase for that level 2 gank. So, what are people calling that one out? Still not an excuse.
You make a very,
I'm just saying he's done it so many times.
Good disappointed father.
Kickers is done.
Oh, there's the flash. There's the bear.
That's a good gank.
That's worth it. Freddy 0-2. No flash.
How does SK win this game? I know this is a 5-game series. I didn't know which teams won which games, but obviously I do now that SK somehow wins this one.
Enrated's got the stun, Sven's got the sonic wave. They're chasing him down, but he's still alive. That death sentence went wide, but they managed to survive a few seconds longer. Unicorns 3-1 kills, top, jungle, and ADC. They're off to a great start with a comp that, in theory, could have been bullied around a little in the respective lanes.
Still very, very far behind in the bottom lane, despite getting that kill. 30 CS for Forgiven is not exactly going to get a lot better for the Unicorns of Love in that situation. But what they're doing so well is they look at a losing matchup from the last game. They're signed into Shyvana, which ended up in Freddy just taking the tower on his own. Obviously, also look at the fact he's not running with a flash because of the smite. So they decide to camp that lane, and I like that from the Unicorns of Love. That's been smart. Question is just, can Hylissang and Vardax slowly claw their way back in this lane? Because Annie and Caitlyn is...
they still lost a ton of CS as a result of that.
I feel like we've seen this before.
God damn it, dude. Seriously, if they just banned Hylissang out this series, what the hell does UoL do?
And it is just not a good day for Enrated. However,
He's setting up every play, every game.
how game 2 started, with Unicorns of Love gaining
Seriously, just ban out Hylissang.
1 or 2 lanes, and all of a sudden,
Man, I'm gonna be disappointed next week if Fnatic doesn't at least try and see what happens in a game or two.
impactful engages.
I'm actually gonna be more disappointed if Fnatic plays crap top lane Lee Sin again.
With level 6, he's dived in with that unstoppable onslaught. Takes way too many turret shots and is forced to fall backwards, but trying to set up a kill, not securing it this time.
Why did they name Sion ult Unstoppable Onslaught when Unstoppable Force is already Malphite's ultimate? I just hate Riot's names these days of their abilities. They're just so bad, and they all sound the same now. And it just looks the same as Malphite's ult too.
Perfect example of a carry being carried by a support. But look in the middle lane to fish out. Svenskeren is sneaking himself away.
I'm down with it. I'm just calling everything ult now.
From Power of Evil. But here comes Hylissang and Kickers. I didn't even see them. We do see Fox get caught by the flay, but no follow-up.
No hook to try and bait a flash out.
Not this time around, but all of the summoners blown.
Okay, Magical Journey is a good... You guys are right. Magical Journey is a really good ability name. But you know what's not? Tempered Fate. God, it's terrible. You know, they could just call it Stasis after the StarCraft ability. Arbiters, never forget.
Oh, wow. We see that one connecting, but there's a lot of minions still in front. And despite the...
Well, at the very least, the SK did get a good job just pushing this turret. They're playing their Annie, Caitlyn cheese lane really well. As usual, you know, what you come to expect.
Saving the day today, but Unicorns of Love maintain a gold lead. They're down summoners in this middle lane, and Svenskeren, when he's on this Lee Sin, he has something to prove. 64 CS to 65, top lane even, jungle even, despite the disparity in the bottom lane. You see those kills keeping things favorable for Vardax. Let's see where these items go, because double longsword and 1600 gold for Forgiven, 1500 gold for Vardax. He should be hitting those BF swords fairly soon.
really see how Forgiven had a poor back timing. He was obviously forced back because he died, not exactly his own choice. Couldn't farm up that.
Yeah, Svenskerin's really able to get into this bottom side because of the pressure. There's nothing that there's no response possible.
Kickus is down and red buff will be transferred. No, not yet. He had the flash for it.
Oh, that sucks. He had a flash.
He's probably gonna pick it.
So they have no pressure right here. So this is a really good play. This is a good call from Svenskeren.
Couldn't farm up that early BF sword.
And you have that tier, so you don't really have good combat stats. At least you have MR from Fox from the Chalice. It's a great shockwave too. Fox should have just completed that. He got a little bit greedy right there. Had to use his flash, but it's okay.
Baiting both of us. We do see Chachi forced to knock Freddy away. He's in retreat. There's the shield up. Freddy, despite 0-2 down, is winning the trade.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is that this Kog'Maw has really bad wave clear early on, so you can really push hard.
Just one kill. Here comes Spin. Can he land the Sonic Wave? I'm willing to bet that he can. He's got flash available. He connects, follows in. We do not see the kill going out yet. Ignite is burning. Svenskeren gets one. Hillesang.
Holy cow.
Because Forgiven heals him, keeps him up. This is game 2 all over again. Svenskeren has got the biggest backpack in Europe, and he's putting SK.
Wow, that was really well played. It was the natural course of action though, because after you get that kill onto the jungler, right? So if you're Unicorns of Love, you have entirely lost control of this bottom side, and you have to be so scared right now. Okay, you're chunked out. Jinx has no health or mana. Okay, you can't stay here any longer. There's no jungle protection. It's super easy for them to dive you. Yeah, you have to be really, really worried about this because you can't protect your tower, so that's going to go down. So you have to walk back immediately. Great dodge on the hook. Flash. Auto. And that's a good reaction from Forgiven too, coming up. This is one thing that Forgiven's really good at, is that he knows what to do in this situation, right? He's not just going to sit there and auto the turret. He comes to the assistance of his teammates. This is one of the reasons Forgiven has really good reads on the map on where he should be. If we think about the course of this series so far, it really hasn't been a story of Forgiven not being in the right place at the right time or being caught out. Like a lot of the members of his team. His pathing is really good. His instinct about where to be on the map. And of course, right as I say that, he's going to get soloed by Kickus. Yeah, okay. The caster curse. As soon as you say somebody's playing well, they do something bad. And he shouldn't have been there either. The lane was already pushed up. He could have just been helping with the dragon.
Unicorns of Love, 5 kills to 4. They are now down in gold. They've lost the tower. They've lost the dragon. And all of that early aggression has
of course that happens.
nullified.
Completely. All thanks to Svenskeren. First winning a fight in the mid lane. He then knows there's no jungler, so there's no chance of a counter gang in the bottom lane, and he could walk down, fight between the two towers.
It always happens like that when you're casting, by the way. You're always like, damn, look at this guy, he's playing so well, and then he immediately does something stupid.
Kills. Picking a fight in the mid lane.
A whole bunch of them going on to Svenskeren again. He's finished up that warrior, enchant, trailblazer, and got himself a sightstone. The rest of SK picking up a few key items here. Dean's Unholy Grail picked up for Fox, and this larger Power of Evil is going the same item build, thus far at least. Earlier in the day.
Yeah, you can't... There's no way you can 2v2 either. I mean, the support jungle war is easily won by Svenskeren and N-rated right now. They have such high amounts of burst.
Any slows to give you the double damage from the Leandris, it's still simply just to...
And typical SK, just push down all the outer turrets, slowly chip them down over time, keep the pressure on, start invading your enemy jungle repeatedly.
Force them back to base, and you can fight over objectives then with a numbers advantage if you're the Unicorns of Love. And as we saw in the last game, or well, the last time we played it, when he got...
So, the Kog'Maw pick is good, especially for that siege like they had in game 1, but the lack of wave clear is being punished here by SK Gaming.
This game, I feel. Unicorns not in the same level, not in the same position, I think is a better word. And also, Svenskeren and Lee, he really finds opportunities. He's in the right place at the right time. I think Kikis has done a good job in this video so far. But truthfully,
Yeah, ask about the Lee Sin pick. Lee Sin is still a good pick. The issue is with Lee Sin is that he just falls off harder than he did before in the late game because of the tankiness. Because if you think about the items, if we talk about the warrior enchant here, you have that. First off, they nerfed it a little bit, right? So it's only 40 damage right now instead of 45. But when you get Cinder Hulk, you have a multiplicative stat. So the warrior enchant. Oh, hold on.
We do see the command protect. It is going to be shockwave on Chachi alone. Despite the flash hook engage, there's not enough damage to get the kill. Now Freddy has found one. Power of Evil.
Wow, Power of Evil should not have just walked into that. Didn't have a lot of choices though. It's a good cleanup from SK.
And that's going to end up being a 3-for-1.
Okay, so back to warrior enchant. So what? It's just that it's that the warrior enchant doesn't scale very well into the late game. Right, because it offers flat armor penetration, which is not a stat that's particularly useful the later the game goes on. You'd much rather have the percent pen. And this item, not only does it scale with levels in terms of the AoE damage, but you have that plus 25% bonus health as well that stacks with all of your other items the later you get into the game. So what Riot did by creating Cinder Hulk was basically make it so that these skirmishing junglers, they're still strong in the early game. They fall off a lot harder. And also it's a lot easier for these junglers to survive clearing the camps early because they simultaneously nerfed camp damage and created this Cinder Hulk guy so that you have more AoE as a tank jungler to take things down without taking so much damage. So there's less of an opportunity for a bruiser or a duelist like Lee Sin or Rengar to get in there and punish you for being low HP at camps. So there's less kill pressure from Lee Sin, and he has a smaller timing window to be really effective. So there you go. That's why. In my opinion.
This 3 versus 3. Lantern comes out. Sven follows through. 6-0-2. Sven scared is unstoppable. 7-0-2.
Look what he did there. Connects the Q and he waits. He waits for the lantern and then he activates the second one and flies with it. But this was the Unicorns of Love getting a mid tower and then going for blue buff. 2 guys on their own. Okay, let's see it again. Engage here is fine from Unicorns of Love. They're not looking for a big team fight. They're looking for...
I mean, it's not fine. It's not fine from Unicorns of Love because there's TP here and there's a Jinx running all the fucking way across the map. So it's like a 5v4. And Svensorin can get out of the ult with his W, the Sion ult. This is good Ori play though. Hey, look at this. That's a great ult from Freddy though. They know he's in here, so they're just cutting off all possible escapes. And his flash and ghost are down. It's a very good team fight from SK.
Half the team on one side of the wall, the other one in the middle of the lane. And then after they take that mid tower, they decide to go blue buff. 2 guys on their own. Giving over 2 more kills now. 7-0 for Svenska. And he's Danish.
Is that really relevant right now?
That's the most relevant thing of all.
Oh, that's the weirdest segue I've ever heard. 7-0-2. Svenskeren and Lee Sin is going massive.
I mean, UoL does have TP advantage now.
Just outplaying all of Unicorns of Love.
Okay, so look at this also. Gromp buff is being taken right now by Freddy. He just used the smite on it, so he'll have that pushing advantage again, and then Dragon coming up very soon. So
can position appropriately and wrap things up.
And he's just punishing Unicorns a lot for trying to fight him. Again, that's the whole thing started with him getting that 2v2 fight around the mid lane, where they killed Kikis, then he walked on bottom and gets 2 more kills. The 84% voting for Unicorns of Love might end up being a little bit disappointed if SK can keep snowballing. That's still the big question mark because the Unicorns will have a fantastic game.
It's simpler than that. If
actually, it looks like Freddy's going to be moving a bit late here.
Give him that one, but you got level 11 now on Power Beaver. You have Loot and Zeko. This is your big power spike. where you start grouping to see if he can connect the ultis. He's not running a
Freddy a little bit late, and Vizicachi not wanting to make a TP play before he gets there. They can't set up the Dragon Control, actually. The Crab already over to SK. Rough situation for Unicorns. Here's TP. But the Dragon's already dead. Kikis is just going to get kited right here. N-Rated can blow a stun on him immediately and just have him get autoed whilst Fenskrin sets up again. Vizicachi lands, but has to deal with Freddy immediately. I'll miss that.
He's off on the sideline. Kikis is pulling off the attention of 3 members of SK, but they have not secured the Dragon. The kickback after the flash forward, Fenskrin is going to allow Forgiven to drop down Kikis. Now the rest of Unicorns are in full retreat. That's a flash stun from N-Rated, and SK are running amok. 2 members caught up by the shockwave. The Fox is now out of mana, but it doesn't matter because Power of Evil is down.
The Timbers.
For Unicorns, flash stun from N-Rated, and SK.
I mean, Vardex's positioning is actually pretty good here, all things considered, but Fox does a great job of cutting off this choke point so they can't retreat. Look at Forgiven's flash right here. What a boss. He E'd into the fight earlier, knowing his limits. Yeah, that was a late Tibbers. Enria didn't have a good reason to use Tibbers earlier, though, because he got the first stun, and then he was just following up on single targets. He should just not drop that Tibbers at all, really.
This is game 2 over again. A Dragon already gone. SK picked it up. Unicorns deciding to go for the fight, despite once again being fairly split up, not landing any poke beforehand from Power of Evil. And SK Gaming with a 7-0 Lee Sin are happy taking the fight, getting a few kills, getting a mid tower, and now big goal lead.
And you've got to remember, N-Rated still does not have his righteous glory. You think of all of the engages in the mid game, he got the stuns onto Power of Evil when Power of Evil was playing that
It's Unicorns of Love.
in fact. Yeah. And if N-Rated can do that again, it's going to be even easier.
Yeah, so you got one stun here already, so he forced the flash, and then just trying to follow up right now. Good kick, flash kick comes in, allows the kill. E, auto, walks around the traps actually. Oh, this is so good. Fox played this really well. Flash into the Peacemaker. Look at the angles Forgiven has too. It was that Flash into Peacemaker was so good because he was going to be able to hit both people, and he was perfectly protected in that alcove. He was out of range of Vardags, I believe. It's amazing how well Forgiven can read all of the abilities going on in these team fights.
SK Gaming will be very happy with that turnaround.
That's really nice.
I don't want to talk too soon, but I do have to
there wasn't really any risk for him doing that either. Just maximizing his damage and all his abilities.
If you go to a game 5 and you are red side pick again as Unicorns of Love, is Lee Sin worth banning? We'll explore that thought a little later as Freddy is able to avoid everything. Kick is unable to run in, Death Sentence doesn't connect. Unicorns are 6,000 gold down, 2 towers down, 2 dragons down, 6 kills done. We're not even 20 minutes on the clock.
The SK Gaming we know.
And they don't even have an assassin.
Yeah, but SK is they're just playing their little SK style. Little SK style. Push everything. Get the outer turrets. Take over your jungle very aggressively. And force the advantage. So, pretty expected.
Unicorns taking fights. Early game, when they have a fantastic late game, is where SK just punished him so hard.
Unicorns of Love able to defend the middle inner turret, and SK with a show of force invade the jungle. Getting some very good vision inside the Unicorns' top half of the map, as Baron will be spawning shortly. So early on the clock, you can feel that with all the vision control, they could even bait it if they wanted. Despite really not having to take extra damage, but regardless.
Well, not much you can do to stop these towers from going down at this stage.
Inner turret, Unicorn so scared. Look at the damage on Helisan. QW, he's simply
Fox is really fed.
SK gonna back away and take control of the rest of the jungle.
They have so many more items than their opponents at this stage.
Dragon is about to respawn, can be the next objective for them.
And once you start snowballing with this style, this is why I thought the meta would be good for SK, because if you're able to get control through a fast push, then you can just put the TP smite top laner on that side of the map and have them repeatedly invade and snowball that advantage even harder. And that's also the reason why this meta is not good for the game, is because TP smite on a top laner causes snowballs to get utterly out of control. Because once you start winning your lane and pushing into your opponent's territory and forcing them to farm under turrets so you have freedom just to walk around and get extra gold, a little advantage in lane or an item advantage can turn into this huge, huge snowball. That's why it's really bad that this is in the meta. Because there's very little counterplay once you start losing lane. And if you want a really good example of that, watch KT's last game against Jin. Someday it's the best use. He's playing Hecarim with Smite in the top lane. It's the best use of that snowball that I've seen so far.
Shoved out top, but it has been dealt with as Freddy is now healing all those minions, pushing it back. Teleport's available for both respective top laners. And look at SK's position. They've got deep wards again. The river's warded up. Unicorns have to just go through a almost minefield.
Not gonna move at all.
Plus the fact that Cinderhulk gives you the percent HP bonuses too just makes it really strong. And you can just dive into the back line and hit their carry with the smite and stick to them forever and deal true damage. It's just ridiculous all around. It's not even just the smite and that's snowballing, it's that it's also a really, really good item on HP stacking tanks.
Now they can simply just keep playing around dragons and barons every single time, and then unicorns at some point is going to be forced to walk into that jungle, try and see if you're doing the baron or the dragon, the fifth one that is in the future, and then SK Gaming can get the perfect flank, which is what they need against a composition that has so much kite, and what we highlighted as one of the problems.
I mean, this game's pretty much over now. Unless SK makes some sort of insane misplay. Because of the huge gold lead and the threat they're going to be able to put down on the Barons shortly. Look at Forgiven. He's 2,000 gold up. They won that lane so hard in terms of CS.
That is an annoying lane for anybody to deal with. But that is a very, very large amount of CS to be down at the 25-minute mark.
Very, very true. SK, as you can see, I'm really feeling
Well, it's going to be interesting to see where Forgiven ends up at the end of this year.
potential fifth.
I think he's going to have a lot of offers.
You can simply wait for unicorns to make a move and then try and punish him for it. So if you just push every single lane now, force them down either near their own tier 2 tower or all the way back in base, then you take over the jungle after, and that's what you play around. They're even buying a lot of pink boards, and Freddy upgraded his totem in this game here. I think he didn't do in the last few games he's played.
Also some credit to SK for not playing risky. They're not putting themselves in positions where they could get punished. However, they are also giving unicorns some time. Bardex is farming his way up. You see the Haunting guys secured for Power Evil. It's not doing a whole lot against Forgiven. He's landing the odd living artillery, and then Forgiven is just sustaining. But to Fishio, we touched on Baron a few minutes ago. There is this threat that we were talking about. Let's see if anyone can get caught out. Kick is trying to run Forgiven down. He's got the Summoner heal already. Teleport comes out from Freddy. Box used to disengage. Svenskeren, he flashes onto Kickers. That's a dead bear, man. Unicorns of Love without their
Man, Svenskeren's picks have been really, really good this game.
What can they do?
This is still risky for SK. You're standing in the Baron pit. Power Weaver can poke you. Cyan can get in there and has the mass amount of CC.
He's managed to find Fox. He's going to not get the decimating smash. We do see the death sentence from Hilliside, but it's not enough. Keep your eyes on
It's good,
Bardex
Tibbers.
and his HP. He's forced to flash away. Vizichach is in trouble. Super Mega Death Rocket does not secure kills, nor does the death sentence. Rocket off the rocket. Enrated plays the sacrificial lab, but it's secure.
Fox's burst is so insane.
Bardex needed to get those auto attacks down. Not a lot of mana for Power of Evil, so Unable to spam those living artilleries. Death Sentence connects on his Svenskeren. Will they get the kill credit? It does not look like it. Living artillery unable to secure the kill in 8-0-4.
Well, 1 for 1. Well, 1 for 2 actually.
I think that's the most important thing.
They did get that pick onto Udyr. They could have been more patient.
Having so many members of Unicorns around it. Look at the damage here onto the back line of SK Gaming. The fact you lock down one of them and then you start sniping them with Power of Evil. And now they just keep kiting back.
Holy cow, that damage.
So close.
You nearly got a double with 1 ult.
Into the face of Enrated, who ends up going down. So those Bardogs, however.
And that could have also been very different. I'm fairly confident that was a 3-man Tibber stun. Just in the bottom half of the river. What Enrated is showing is his ability to read mid-game and team fights is significantly better than his laning impact. He always seems to catch targets with Tibbers in the mid-game. And it is very impactful. Still does not have that Righteous Glory completed. Going to give SK more tools. But a little bit of stall. 7,000 gold the lead. 3 dragons to 0 with a minute and a half until the next one. Look at SK setting up control in the river, in the jungle. Will Unicorns be brave enough to fight? I don't think so, but...
Well, they're going to be forced into some fights because we can see that SK with their comp, only Shyvana can really be a straight pushing threat here. You don't want to put your Orianna or your Caitlyn in one of the side lanes, so it's going to be like a 1 for the most part, and they have to just dance around.
Yeah, see, this is the issue. The Shyvana gets really far ahead now. In spite of being pretty even for most of this game, the more the map opens up and the more towers go down, the more she's able to farm. Wow, sneaking the Baron. This is clever. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, he's got smite.
The rest of SK are about to react. They're going to peel away. Desperation play not working out, but now all of a sudden Freddy's managed to cut off Power of Evil.
Well, that was a nice try. You have to do something to try and get back in this game, and that was intelligent.
Will be another dragon for SK. What Unicorns here were trying to do was hope that SK would invest everyone on the dragon and just go down and take it, and they would trade it.
That was a good call by Unicorns Love to try and make a comeback.
Nothing has changed in the game itself, other than in 6 minutes. Potential 5th one for SK.
We're going to be going for a Blade of the Ruined King before actually picking up a Last Whisper, in spite of the fact that this Scion has Frozen Heart. That's a bit interesting, and he knows there's going to be another Frozen Heart coming.
But I think a little bit of... Right. And it means Unicorns...
Probably needs that survivability, though, because he's almost guaranteed to get hit by Luden's Echo at some point. So having a little bit of Hellsteel is useful.
This is the Mount Everest of comebacks. 10,000 gold at 30 minutes against the engaged power of the Shyvana Lee Sin with a fairly fed, fairly farmed Orianna.
So the only problem for SK in terms of closing out the game is when they do start this Baron here, as long as Power Vila is nearby, and SK Gaming doesn't completely control the jungle, so he can still walk in fairly safe. You can see...
Just set up picks, SK. You don't have to start the Baron.
When you're stuck in his Baron pit, but he needs to be there now, and he's not. He's in the base, so this is a very good Baron start for SK. As long as they make sure it doesn't get stolen.
And kick is flashed over, gets kicked back. We do see the Sonic Wave into resonating as Freddy will be able to secure a kill with the help of Forgiven. Now Freddy and Svenskeren, they're dealing with a couple members of Unicorns of Love. Where's the rest of the team? Freddy's caught out, his Dragon Descent is slowly burning away. Disengage Flame Chompers as Unicorns try to peel backwards.
Down as long.
Hey, whatever. This game's pretty much been over for a while now.
He's got no ultimate to chase and instantly stunned as he arrives.
Yeah, Vizichachi's getting pretty strong. They have to get that Last Whisper to cut through him at this point.
No mana. You're a beautiful butterfly that can do nothing but flap your wings. One more shot. Is it there? No. We do see the zap the right kick. This gets shut down by Forgiven. SK Gaming.
What the Forgiven?
Double kill as Vizichachi forced to run away. Does final enter. Finally,
wow. Just goes into melee range as Caitlyn. He just knows his limits so well. That's crazy.
Power of Evil throws another living artillery, but again, it's just not enough. There is no mana regen, there is no blue buff. And there is no impact once there is no mana.
Yeah, very, very out of mana in the first place. SK Gaming just kept kiting around. We'll also
Forgiven needs more farm.
Who else would get it? But the man, 33 minutes in.
Those hundreds more CS than the other AD. That's such a huge problem. Still won't sell his Doran's Blade for a ward. Or an upgraded blue trinket. Sad times. Also, this Doran's shield really doing a lot of work right now. Freddy really needs that HP regen at this stage of the game. Hey, he has Face the Mountain too. Interesting. I don't feel great about that.
His wave clear is to help Unicorns defend.
Actually, I did a surprising amount of... I don't know. I guess it's okay. It's whatever. They're so far ahead.
Two men to the good. Now sieging up on the middle inhibitor turret. Power of Evil can spam for days, but it's not going to do anything against SK Gaming. Baron's not even needed, and Bizachachi is being dropped down. Wow, Svenskeren even follows him in. Death Sentence does not connect him.
Game over, please.
Manages to find Pride Rock and get shut down where he stands. Not even able to get the kill there onto Fox. Fantastic, fantastic performance from SK Gaming. Hey! It's the little things that count.
Oh no, it was so close to ending.
Well, we'll see. Teleport coming in from Freddy. This is not a done deal. Remember, he has
Sven is going to steal this one, calling it right now.
Sven to steal the Fisher. We'll keep our eyes on Vardak's low. Power of Evil running out of mana. Kick back from Kicker. Svenskeren. He's got Smite available, got the help. He's going to go back in. Sven steals. Well, secures it. That's not really a steal. Dragon.
Can this be over yet?
But it's not the chance. Try hold of Svenskeren. Will he go down? And yes, he will. It's
Oh boy. Okay, we're done with this one.
Just like in game 2,